Thanks for tuning in City Line. I'm your host, Ra.
And Ashel.
And we are giving you all things Caribbean culture.
Yes, and we are back with the 6th episode. And we're actually taking it a step further this show.
Turning it up a notch.
Turning it up a notch, but in a different way, because we are talking about a very taboo topic, I just think in general, but I think especially in the Caribbean. So without further ado, I would like to have our guests actually introduce themselves, because I'm ready to kind of get in.
You ready already?
I'm ready. I'm always ready.
All right, well, let me go.
Please introduce yourselves.
Okay. Well, my name is Diamond, and my father is from the Bahamas. I did not grow up Caribbean. I grew up American. But yeah, that's pretty much my background.
Okay, Diamond.
Well, my name is Tanae, and I am of Jamaican descent.
Thank you for joining us. All right, so before we start, let's talk about these drinks, sis.
Yeah.
Miss Bartender.
So tonight, since we are discussing something a little bit turned up, we have a turned up drink this evening. It's called bush tea. Bush tea.
Bush tea.
Bush tea.
Tell us about this bush tea.
So, you know, like in the Caribbean, like if you're sick or something like that, like a lot of times, you're fine, just drink some bush tea. That is what we're drinking today. So basically, it's our little twist on a old fashioned. So we have some bourbon inside of here. We also have different types of bitters. We have orange bitters, rhubarb bitters, giving some of that effervescence going on into the drink. And then also too, we just topped it off with some iced tea. You can do any type of flavored tea. Inside of our cups this evening, we have a peach mango tea.
Nice.
So sip up, don't be afraid,
Yes.
and let's get into it.
Cheers, ladies.
Cheers, cheers.
Cheers.
I'm sipping before the cheers.
All right, so for those of you that are watching that may want to know what exactly are they talking about, is a turned up episode or it's a heavy episode, we're talking about mental illness. We want to talking about mental health. So we really want to kind of dig in deep. For me personally, I know a lot of people that actually do struggle with this, and I thought it would be a very special episode to bring on two women who actually kind of have their own mental health that they pay close attention to. So without further ado, I do want to ask you guys, when did you guys know that you were struggling with a mental illness? And feel free to answer however you want to.
For me, I would say right after I graduated from college, Georgia Southern. Basically, I kind of felt like a light went out. And I was just very dim. I didn't really know why. I had moved back to New York, which is where I'm originally from. And while I was on my job search, I was in the house all day, sad, just like sad. I would come home and just be in the house with my dog. Curtains closed, lights off, laying in the dark, crying, and I didn't know why. Like, I didn't know what was wrong with me. Like, you know, you're supposed to be happy as a grad. And I was like, oh, you know, it's just graduation depression. But then I got a job and I had money and I was still sad. So I was like, okay, maybe I just miss my friends. So, you know, you remember I moved back to Georgia, still sad. So yeah, that's when I realized, okay, maybe there is something wrong. I need to look into this.
Yeah. What about you, Diamond?
Well, for me, it started when I was like a kid. I have really bad anxiety. It's not as bad as it used to be. Like, I've been able to cope with it a lot better. But like when I would say middle school, elementary school, like the end of elementary school, like around 6th grade, I started having really, really bad anxiety. I'm talking about it will get to the point where I can't do anything. I can't do homework. Like, I'm just in the bed. I'm by myself. Like, just like trying to keep it together and breathe. Like, if anybody who has anxiety knows like how debilitating it can be.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't have it like that anymore, which I am thankful for, because Lord knows it's really hard to deal with.
Was your anxiety more pinpointed for a specific topic, or was it more generalized?
At that point in time, I believe there were different things that I was experiencing in life that offset it. But as I grew older, I know it turned into something that became more generalized, just because my body was so used to like reacting in that way. Right. Like, even before this episode, I was telling her, like, my body had gotten to the point where it would just be triggered and I would just get anxiety. Like, literally, I don't even know what's happening, but like I'm anxious all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And like obviously those are things that I've had to pay attention to over time, so I know how to, even with those little things, like know how to cope with that and like bring myself back to center, because my body just got so used to being like that. Even when it came to like my digestive system, like anxiety is tied very close to our digestive system, and my digestive system got messed up because of that. And so like, you know, kids like, oh, my stomach hurt, they got anxiety, they anxious, you know, you got to go to the bathroom, things like that. So yeah, it's been a journey, but I'm a lot better.
Yeah, definitely. So growing up in a Caribbean household, was that difficult, or was that hard for you to actually come out and express that to your parents? Like, how do you say that? How do you say that? Or how did you say it?
Well, my mom's not Caribbean. My dad is of Caribbean descent, but even within that, just growing up in the South, like, it just wasn't a thing. Like, my mother has her own problems. My dad has his own issues. Like, me trying to talk to them about mental health stuff is just like, girl, if you go in your room, sit down. Like, what are you talking about?
Drink some bush tea.
Like, you, like, there's nothing wrong with you. Like this thing here, like, girl, go watch cartoons. Like, there is no real, let me help you, or let me see if I can help you, or let me really try to sit down and understand what's going on. I even think to an extent, especially when you deal with it at a young age, you don't even really know that you're dealing with it. And if you can or cannot come to somebody and talk to them and be like,
You may not know how to articulate.
there's something wrong with me and I don't know
what it is.
Right.
Like,
Like,
I need to figure it out.
Right.
I don't feel
it's like,
good.
this is, for me, it was normal because I was just used to feeling that way, but it's like, this is not normal. I shouldn't be feeling like this often.
Right.
So, yeah, with parents, no. It was no telling them.
Yeah. What about with you? Because I know your grandmother's Jamaican and your mother's Jamaican. How was that growing up in a Jamaican household where you had to eventually say something like, Mom, I mean, granted you were older, but coming out and saying, Mom, something's wrong with me. I think I need to actually seek help. Like, how was that, telling her?
My mom told me that I needed to seek help. So my grandmother had depression. So I grew up in a household where she was always crying. She took depression, like antidepressant medication. Like, so I can't say that I knew and really understood what depression was. My mother, when my grandmother passed away, was then diagnosed with depression and anxiety. And even that, I was like, towards my senior year in college, and that was rough. Like, my mother changed as a person. She was like totally different. She wasn't like this bubbly person anymore, and she needed medication to function. And even then, I was kind of just like, okay, I know what depression is, but I didn't really know what depression was until I was diagnosed with depression. So her knowing the signs and the symptoms, with her growing up with my mother, her mother having it, and then me, you know, experiencing my mother having it and her having it, she knew what it looked like. So she said, you know, I think you need to go talk to somebody. And I had tried at some point, and I'm not going to say I gave up or I thought that it didn't work, but I was just tired of people telling me that there was nothing wrong with me. And that's when I learned, like, when you are seeking help, not every therapist is going to understand what depression looks like. People are quick to tell you that you're just sad and there's nothing wrong with you. And that's why initially I thought I was just sad and there was nothing wrong with me. My mother said, you need to go see about it. So she was very supportive.
Wow, that's interesting. And I think me and Diamond were actually talking before the show about how I feel like there's a switch with our generation. I feel like with our generation, we are coming to terms with being okay with not being okay. And I think a lot of us are actually seeking help, which is a good thing. So, you know, it's interesting. I wish we would have had a guy on the show, because I'm very curious to hear from the men's perspective, because a lot of men don't talk about having issues. So I guess for all the men that are watching right now that maybe they know something is wrong with them, but they don't really necessarily know how to take that first step, what is some advice that you would give to a guy watching that needs to actually go seek help?
Well, I would say, like, get it. Like, a lot of times we think when it comes to what we're doing or things that we want to do, that there are additional steps in between that we have to be prepared for. It's like there's no preparation. Like, literally just do whatever it is that you need to do. Like, go ahead if you need help, like research whoever, reach out to people, see what therapists they have. Like if you need to talk to a friend, talk to a friend. I think a lot of times with guys, they may feel that society has told them that they cannot be a certain way, which is basically to be human, because to feel is a human thing. It's not a woman thing. And for whatever reason, because emotions and things like that are they are feminine, but feminine and masculine exist in all human beings. So it's not a thing of woman or man. And with that being said, I feel like society has warped the idea of what feminine and masculine is. And for that reason, men don't want to, or they feel that they cannot come out and be like, I be crying. Something's wrong with me. Like, I need to talk to somebody. But yeah, I would definitely just say, do it and don't worry about what people got to say.
Definitely.
Just speaking out, like, in general, because I'll be the first person to say, I feel like, and I'm going to tell you how I feel. And that's just me. Like, growing up, it wasn't really talked about, okay, well, you know, little Sarah, yes, yeah, my name is Sarah. Yes, Sarah, like, come and speak on your feelings. How are you feeling today? No, it wasn't like that. It was just like, you sad, go have a seat. You crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about. Something like that, you know? So just speak on it. And then also, too, displacement of anger, because a lot of times people get angry or frustrated. They can't really articulate how they're feeling. They may not know the words. They just have a feeling. So they may cry. Or sometimes it's those instances where they don't cry and they just want to fight or something like that, you know? There's different ways on how to move with your feelings.
Absolutely. And with that being said, what are some ways that you guys actually cope with your mental illness? Like, what makes you feel better?
My medication. Like, I don't want to say I can't function without my medication, but I feel, you know how some people say, like, they're afraid to take medication. Like, I don't need medication, you know, I'm okay. My therapist originally, maybe like my first few appointments, was like, you have severe depression. You need to see a psychiatrist. You need to take medication. And I was like, ugh. Like, right now? So she was like, okay, we're going to try to work through it. I'll give you 6 more sessions, and then you let me know, and then I'll let you know, you know, what I think. I think I probably put it off for like 6 months. And then I was like, okay, wait, I don't even want to go to work. I don't want to go hang out with my friends. I don't want to listen to, I don't want to do anything. I don't even want to eat, and I love food. Something is not right. So I saw a psychiatrist. He was like, yeah, you have severe depression. You do need medication. You also have anxiety. You also have ADHD. I was like, what?
Wow.
That's the thing. Why people always want to give somebody ADHD?
I know.
I was in 3rd grade, my teacher was like, Miss Hackshaw, I think your child needs Ritalin. And she's like, she's a 3rd grader. Right. It's crazy.
So basically, that's how I cope. I talk to my therapist, I take my medication, and my medication makes me feel like myself. Like, I feel normal on my medication. People ask me, do you feel drugged? No, I don't feel drugged. I feel how I felt before that light went out. So that's how I cope.
Wow.
Well, for me, I think one of the best things for me is actually like positive self-talk. I know that originally, like, one of the roughest times that I had, like, mentally was high school. And there was a time after that too that was ridiculous. But my first go around, like, as a teenager, you know, as a teenager, like, we going through a whole bunch of stuff already,
so
just
many
with like
changes
growth
and hormone changes and all of that.
When I was in so when I was in high school, there was a point at which I was like trying to hold it together, and it was extremely difficult. Like, I was suicidal. The school had me on suicide watch. I was cutting myself. It was a lot of stuff that was going on, and literally, and honestly, I wasn't talking to my friends. Like, I didn't talk to my parents. I tried to. They sent me to a psychologist. They said it was a waste of time, so that was it. And literally the only thing that helped me was positive self-talk and writing. I don't really write as much as I used to, but definitely, like, I used to write, and I used to just, like, talk to myself. Like, and it's actually really interesting, and I think about it, like, I didn't really talk to my friends about stuff I was dealing with until, like, college. But yeah, talking to myself, like, it's okay. Like, you're breathing.
Yes.
gratitude, like you're gonna make it, like this feels like crazy right now, but you're gonna get to the other side. I probably just gotta hold
gotta
on.
hold on.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Like, girl, and when I tell you, when I got to the other side, I was like, oh,
Like this is what it feels like.
strength.
Yeah, seriously.
Period. I was like, I felt like I could accomplish anything in the world.
Yeah.
And then of course, you know, the next thing comes and the next thing
Yeah.
comes. So it's kind of like that learning curve after that. But having healthy coping mechanisms is
It's key.
That's number
healthy.
Healthy. Yeah.
Coping mechanisms.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's good for everybody to have that. I think especially like just being a woman, you know, being a woman, we have, like you mentioned, we are emotional beings. We're human, we're emotional beings. But I think there's so much power in the tongue. And I strongly believe in affirmations. Like personally myself, kind of piggybacking off of what Tanae said, I feel like for me, I've never been diagnosed with anything, but I know I started to experience anxiety after college. I don't know what that transition does to people, but I've met a lot of people with that have, they feel like they have anxiety. They know they have anxiety, but they have never been medically diagnosed with it. But I think there's something with just whether it be a transition from college to adulthood or high school to college, it's something about transitioning that kind of brings a natural anxiety. And it's the craziest thing.
It's just different.
Yeah.
You always just feel, I don't know, maybe you just feel like you're on a floaty in the middle of the ocean or something like that, you know, but
Yeah.
you're not, but it just feels that way.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Interesting.
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that college kids are not prepared for the mental aspect of transitioning out of college into like
Yes.
Into the real world.
everybody else. It's like, okay, so here goes 23 and up.
Yeah.
Like, and you're just like, okay,
Yeah.
so what is happening right
How
now?
do I navigate this part of my life?
Right.
now?
Exactly.
Exactly.
There's nothing, nobody. It's just like, okay, you learned this. Now go get this job. It's like,
Yes.
okay, so what about this other stuff? That I gotta do?
Exactly.
Exactly.
And it's just
Exactly.
like, all right,
Yeah.
I guess.
That's the real thing. A lot of people don't know about that post-grad depression.
Oh,
right?
yes.
It's a real thing.
That's
I've
real.
suffered from it. My cousins, like everyone who I've known, well, not everyone. Some people are like, I got this job.
I know.
I don't have no job yet.
I know. It's,
But,
it's a
yeah,
real
it's a real
thing.
thing.
It's crazy. I think for me personally, I think I've definitely had post-grad depression for probably 2 years or maybe
Yeah.
a year and a half after graduation. Like just trying to find yourself. And I think that also sparks some type of anxiety too, trying to find yourself. And I know a lot of people struggle with that. So I guess my question to you guys now, would you guys recommend going to seek counseling and seeing a therapist for sure?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that it's beneficial. Like, it is an extremely taboo thing. I know in the Black community, all types of traditional communities, Caribbean community, it's like people don't want to be looked at as if they're crazy.
Yes, you're labeled as
It's like,
crazy.
if you got it, it can be fixed at home. And it's like, not everything can be fixed at home.
Yeah.
Not everything
Right.
can be fixed by praying. Like, prayer is literally only a part.
Yeah.
Yes.
You got to do the other part,
That's
which
a
is
gem
which
right
is in
there.
the physical. So
Yeah.
you need to go to therapy. You need
Yeah.
to take your medicine. You need to talk to somebody. Like, you cannot pray that stuff away.
Right.
Exactly.
Like that is your mind. That's not spirit stuff.
Yeah.
So you have to deal with that. And I think it's extremely important. If you go.
Go.
But aside of that, also go to someone who is for you, because not
Yes.
every psychologist or
Yes.
psychiatrist is going to be for you.
Yeah.
Like I studied psychology in school. Shout out to Spelman. I'm not gonna be the perfect psychologist for you because
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you how it is, and everyone may not be,
Yeah.
wanting that or receiving that. So go to someone who's for you. I actually end up going to counseling myself because I had anxiety issues as well, and the post grad thing definitely kicked in. So throughout Spelman and then even after graduation, I actually seeked mental mental health services. And the person who was talking with me, communicating with me, I just didn't like how she talked to me. Like she talked down to me. Like I had an issue. I know I have issues, but I need us to work together to figure out how I'm gonna solve these issues.
Right.
I'm gonna cope with it.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
And I want to piggyback off of something you said really quickly, because you dropped some gems. I don't think you knew what you said, but because I think a lot of, and we don't have to talk about religion, but I think a lot of growing up in Christian household, you're told that if you don't pray about it, then you don't believe in God, and they kind of condemn you and make you feel like you have to go to God for everything. Of course, pray. pray, but it's also about the action behind the prayer as well too. And seeking counseling goes hand in hand with that prayer. So
it's
there's
a marriage.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
I
So
agree with that. Like, God gives us the tools that we need
Absolutely.
to heal ourselves. You cannot just pray to Him to fix it. I don't
Right.
believe in that. Like, you have to have faith, but of course, do something about it.
use those tools, and the counselors and the therapists are the tools that He gave you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm actually curious. We're talking now about the outcomes of mental health and how we cope with mental health. But let's talk about actually how you have mental health issues, like some things that may play into gaining those mental health issues. So for instance, I know a lot of my friends, a lot of times they talk about their upbringing, like it's tough love that they received when they were a child, or they didn't really get it from their parents, like, oh, I love you, little Susie, or, let's give hugs and stuff like that. And I think that also plays into mental health issues growing up, because now you're growing up and they want to be loving and kind, and they notice that you're not so close with them. But it's
Yeah.
because of that upbringing, that tough love, that is, now translating into, okay, I'm going to have to distance myself because I just wasn't brought up like that.
Right.
Have you all felt that growing up, that tough love?
I didn't get that. I came from a very, very loving family, but it was because I was raised by two women. But I didn't have my father there. So I probably got some tough love from him, like, I'm not there and you just have to deal with it. But I did deal with it. And I had two strong women who were loving and kind to me. I think like my mental health issues have nothing to do with my upbringing. And how I focus it is I tell people, like, I'm not depressed, I have depression. Like, it's a chemical imbalance.
Yeah.
So me, it's a bit different.
Okay. What about you two ladies?
Dang, what was you talking about?
she was so deep.
Right, I was like, yes. What?
Tough love.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry guys. Yeah, so mine was a little opposite. My parents were really loving that towards each other, and the display of attention and affection was indicative of all the relationships in the household. So I think a big issue, because I know my dad was hard on me, and my mom had her own things she had going on with me, but I do know that a big problem is that parents don't pay attention to how their children need to be loved.
Yes.
They do it the way they want to. Whatever comes natural to them. It's like, if I grew up like this and this is how I give it, this is how you're going to get it. But the reality is that everybody has different needs when it comes to things like that.
Absolutely.
So you have to be able to give them what they need. And
Yep.
for me, I don't respond well to stuff like that. You can say whatever you want to say, be as harsh as you want. It's not going to motivate me to do anything. I'm going to cry. I'm going to go in my room, and my feelings are going to be hurt.
Yeah.
Like, that's just what it is.
Yeah.
That's just how I function. I don't function well with tough love.
Yeah.
I need you to talk to me. I need you to encourage me. Words of affirmation is one of my love languages because of that.
Mine-
So it's
mine
like
too,
I need the. You don't have to coddle me or baby me or anything, but I do need the love to come through your words. I need that. It's a necessity.
Also, too, the double standards, because I know for me growing up, like, it was different. Mom and dad seeing this, it was different. Like, my brother would go out all types of night, and, he'll get that tough love, but at the end of the day, he's a guy, he's a boy, he's a man. Whereas me is like, we're going to treat you differently. You're a girl. We're going to coddle you, and not like lovingly way, but we're going to be a little bit overbearing and protective of you.
Yeah.
And I think that also played into my mental. Because I'm just like, okay, well, why can't I be treated as equal? You shutting me down, you diminishing how I am, and I can't be out there being free because I'm a female.
Yeah.
So,
That's interesting.
There was something that I read recently about adults continuously healing the childhood trauma that was inflicted on them. And I feel like mental health definitely coincides with that childhood trauma. Granted, it may not have been in your situation, but I think in a lot of situations, as adults, we're always trying to heal that inner child in us. So that I read that this week, and I thought that was very important to say. So I guess in closing, you know, for those that are watching right now that may need to possibly seek help and don't know how, kind of give them some last remarks and kind of tell them, you know, what some action steps should be for them.
Step 1, do not focus on what your friends and family tell you to do. Focus on what you know you need to do.
Yeah.
So go see a therapist. That's number 1. Because I guess a quick little story, I had a friend whose therapist told her that, you know, she had depression. And then she saw a psychiatrist. Psychiatrist was like, no, you don't have depression. So the next thing would be seek multiple avenues of help.
Yeah.
Because one person might say one thing, one person might say another thing. You have to clear the noise, make sure you get the right help, like you were saying earlier. And yeah, focus on that.
Okay.
Step 1.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that. I also think that it's important to listen to yourself. A lot of times things develop in our bodies because we're not paying attention to what they're telling us. Things happen over time, and it's just like, oh, dang, now I'm acting like this. I don't know what the hell went wrong, but it's like you have to listen when your body is talking to you. When you feel yourself feeling all these different things, you're not the same anymore. You notice all these changes about you, you really have to take the steps to do what you need to do, no matter what it is, whether it's talking to somebody. The point is that you need to talk to somebody. You need to get in contact with somebody, because you just have to, even when it comes to friends. Like if you see your friends are going through something, whatever, tell people around so that they can go ahead and get the stuff together, because everybody's life matters.
Absolutely.
All lives matter.
Okay, so we're, no, absolutely. Thank you for that. Okay, so we want to switch it up a little bit. We have a lovely game for you guys, and it is called This or That Self-Care Edition. So we're going to give you guys a couple of scenarios, and you'll choose either option A or option B.
Okay.
All right, the first one, herbal bath or meditation?
Herbal bath.
Herbal bath.
Okay.
If there was herbal tea, I would definitely.
You sound like you drink bush tea for a daily.
That's me. I'm gonna say herbal bath.
I would say herbal bath too. I've never had one, but it looks so fancy and I want to take one. So, okay.
All right, next one. Reading or writing?
Oh, writing all day.
Okay.
Writing, I agree. I went to school for writing, so that's my thing.
There's this over here.
Writing. I would say writing too, because when you're reading other stories and things like that. But when you're writing, you're with your thoughts, so you're able to actually articulate your thoughts.
Exactly.
So. Okay. What about you, Ra?
I'm going to say maybe reading.
Okay.
Because I write, but I never go back to check what I wrote.
So reading your writing?
Pardon?
Reading your own writing?
Yes.
Okay,
Nice.
that's dope.
All right. Vent or internalize?
Is that a trick question?
I mean, it could be.
Well, I like getting it out.
Yes.
See, venting has like such a negative connotation, and I don't necessarily want to put negative energy on people, but I would like to get it out, because if it stays in your body, then it stays stagnant and you start getting sick and stuff.
Right.
So I ain't trying to get sick. I want to get it out.
Exactly.
But, just a little, get it out real quick and then move on.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, I internalize just because when you vent, sometimes you want to hear a certain thing, and if you don't hear it, it'll upset you.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be upset, so I keep it in.
Yeah.
That's just it.
Yeah.
It feels better sometimes. You know?
It may not be the healthiest, but
It may not be, but I can just tell my therapist later.
I keep a lot of things internal, so that's
Listen, I'm going to tell you how it is. I told you. I'm going to say, I feel like, and I'm going to tell you how it is. I may stick to myself a little bit, build to myself, but eventually, that's only because I would like to internalize what I'm going to say to you. Not cuss you, but what I'm going to say in the right way, so that I don't have to take back anything. Then when I think about it and process it all out, then I can confront you and say how I feel.
Right.
Okay, thank you, ladies. That was fun.
That was
All right, well, we're going to kind of close out the show now. So before we close, I do want to highlight, of course, a CSA organization here in the state of Georgia. And I would like to actually highlight Georgia Southern's Caribbean Student Association for a couple of reasons tonight. Myself, as well as Tanae, were co-founders for the organization a couple years ago. And that organization is near and dear to our hearts. So shout out to you, the real GSU, Georgia Southern University. Shout out to all the CSA members. And of course, you can follow them at CSA_GSU on Instagram.
Well, lovely show, ladies.
Yes.
Thank you again for coming
Thank
and
you.
joining and lining
You
us
guys
up.
dropped a lot of gems tonight, so I really appreciate you guys. So, of course, to all of our viewers, we always close out with a listener question. So for tonight's question, what are some ways that you guys possibly look for support, whether that be you talk to a friend, you talk to a therapist? What are some ways that you like to feel supported? And on that note, of course, you can always follow us at watch_DLime, DILIME on Instagram. Of course, follow us, Caribbean Life TV, as well on Facebook and Instagram. And then, of course, you can find our video, Caribbean Life TV Global, on YouTube. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share.
See y'all next week.
All right, see ya.